The P-39 Airacobra arrived with a radical mid-engine layout that American pilots initially mistrusted, relegating it to secondary theaters while newer fighters claimed the spotlight. Yet, in Soviet hands, this misunderstood fighter became a legend. Russian aces flew the Airacobra to devastating effect on the Eastern Front, where its 37mm nose cannon shredded German armor and aircraft alike at low altitude. Alexander Pokrishkin scored 48 of his 59 kills in P-39s, proving the design wasn't flawed, just misapplied. While America overlooked it, the Soviets recognized a killer ground attack platform that history would barely remember. When the Airacobra couldn't get respect, the P-40 Warhawk faced even worse odds. This workhorse entered service already obsolescent, outclassed by German and Japanese fighters in speed and climb rate. Yet it carried the fight when nothing else was available. Flying Tigers painted shark teeth on their P-40s and defended China against overwhelming odds. In North Africa, Desert Air Force Warhawks ground down Rommel's supply lines. The aircraft couldn't outrun or outclimb its enemies, but it could outdive them and absorb punishment that would destroy lighter fighters. Pilots learned to fight to its strengths, turning tactical limitations into calculated aggression that kept Allied forces airborne through the darkest years. At sea, the F4F Wildcat looked hopelessly outmatched against the nimble Zero, slower and less maneuverable than its Japanese adversary. Yet Wildcat pilots developed the thatch weave, a defensive scissors maneuver that turned individual vulnerability into mutual protection. At Coral Sea and Midway, Wildcats held the line when America had nothing better to offer. The aircraft's rugged construction brought pilots home with damage that would have disintegrated enemy fighters. While the Corsair and Hellcat claimed later glory, the Wildcat bought the time needed to build them, bleeding the Japanese naval air arm in desperate carrier battles that shifted the Pacific War's momentum. Carrier fighters held the line. Carrier torpedo bombers broke Japan's back. The TBF Avenger entered combat at Midway, where 5 of 6 were shot down, a disastrous debut that nearly condemned the design. Yet this torpedo bomber became the most effective anti-shipping weapon in the Pacific. Avengers sank the super battleships Yamato and Musashi, destroyed countless cruisers and destroyers, and hunted submarines with ruthless efficiency. Future President George H.W. Bush flew Avengers, surviving being shot down over the Pacific. The aircraft's spacious fuselage carried torpedoes, bombs, or depth charges, while its defensive armament and armor brought crews home. History remembers the fighters, but Avengers broke Japan's naval power. Torpedo bombers delivered the killing blows. Dive bombers delivered the daily punishment. The SB-2C Helldiver earned the nickname "Son of a Bitch," second class, from pilots who fought its handling quirks and maintenance headaches. Plagued by development delays and structural problems, the Helldiver seemed destined for failure. Yet, once debugged, this dive bomber delivered devastating strikes against Japanese shipping and installations throughout the Pacific. At Philippine Sea and Leyte Gulf, Helldivers helped annihilate Japanese carrier aviation. The aircraft could carry twice the bomb load of its predecessor while diving at steep angles that put ordnance precisely on target. Crews cursed it, but the Helldiver's combat record speaks louder than its troubled reputation. Day bombers got the glory. Night fighters got the forgotten wars. The P-61 Black Widow was America's first purpose-built night fighter, a massive twin-engine aircraft that seemed too large for aerial combat. Equipped with primitive radar and bristling with cannons, the Black Widow prowled Pacific and European skies, hunting enemy bombers in total darkness. Its size allowed for a 3-man crew, sophisticated electronics, and heavy armament that lighter night fighters couldn't match. Black Widows intercepted Japanese bombers over Saipan and German intruders over France, pioneering radar-directed night combat. The aircraft's contribution to air defense doctrine far exceeded its modest production numbers. Yet, it remains overshadowed by day fighters. When the Black Widow hunted at night, the F4F Tigercat arrived too late to hunt at all. This twin-engine fighter possessed speed and firepower that exceeded single-engine contemporaries, yet the war ended before it could prove itself. Its high landing speed and powerful engines were deemed too dangerous for carrier operations in World War II. Marine Corps Tigercats flew ground attack missions in Korea, where their heavy armament and long range made them ideal for close air support and night interdiction. The aircraft could carry more ordnance than many light bombers while maintaining fighter performance. Its brief service obscured capabilities that pushed fighter design boundaries. Marine fighters served in Korea. Air Force bombers served in 3 wars. The A-26 Invader entered service in 1944 as the war's most advanced light bomber, yet arrived too late to overshadow the B-25 and B-26 in public memory. This sleek attack aircraft combined speed-approaching fighters with devastating forward-firing armament and substantial bomb load. Invaders flew through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, an extraordinary service life that testified to the design's excellence. The aircraft's speed and firepower made it ideal for low-level strikes against transportation and troop concentrations. Despite this remarkable longevity and combat effectiveness, the Invader remains largely forgotten outside aviation circles. World War II's bombers faded into history. Korea's fighters arrived looking stranger still. The F-82 twin Mustang looked like 2 P-51s joined at the wing, an ungainly configuration that seemed more experimental curiosity than combat aircraft. Yet, this long-range escort fighter solved the problem of pilot fatigue on extended missions by carrying 2 pilots who could alternate control. When the Korean War erupted, an F-82 scored the conflict's first aerial victory, shooting down a North Korean fighter. Twin Mustangs flew radar-equipped night interdiction missions, hunting enemy supply columns in darkness. The aircraft's unusual configuration delivered capabilities no single-engine fighter could match, though its brief service left minimal historical footprint. Strange configurations gave way to conventional jets. The F-9F Panther became the Navy's first successful carrier-based jet fighter. Yet it's overshadowed by Air Force jets and later naval aircraft. Straight-winged, when swept wings were becoming standard, the Panther seemed already obsolete at introduction. Yet in Korea, Panthers flew more sorties than any other Navy jet, providing close air support and air superiority with remarkable reliability. Future astronaut John Glenn flew Panthers in combat, as did many naval aviators who praised its docile handling and rugged construction. The aircraft bridged propeller and jet eras aboard carriers, proving jets could operate from pitching decks. But history favors more glamorous designs. Navy jets proved themselves at sea. Air Force jets proved themselves over land. The F-84 Thunderjet served as the Air Force's primary fighter bomber in Korea, flying more sorties than the celebrated F-86 Sabre, yet receives a fraction of the recognition. This straight-winged jet couldn't dogfight MiGs, so it attacked bridges, railroads, and supply depots instead, grinding down communist logistics with relentless precision strikes. Thunderjets absorbed heavy ground fire while delivering bombs and rockets with accuracy that made them invaluable for close air support. The aircraft's range allowed deep penetration strikes into North Korea when other jets lacked the fuel. Its workmanlike effectiveness never captured public imagination like air-to-air combat. Day fighter bombers struck visible targets. All-weather interceptors defended invisible skies. The F-86D Sabre Dog shared the famous Sabre name, but was a completely different aircraft, an all-weather interceptor rather than a dogfighter. Equipped with radar and rockets instead of guns, the Sabre Dog defended American airspace during the Cold War's tensest years. This interceptor couldn't engage in the turning fights that made the F-86 famous, yet it provided the capability to intercept Soviet bombers in any weather, day or night. Hundreds served in Air Defense Command, a silent deterrent that never fired shots in anger. The Sabre Dog's defensive mission lacked the glory of its fighter-bomber cousin. Single-engine interceptors stood ready. Twin-engine interceptors stood readier. The F-89 Scorpion was America's first purpose-built all-weather jet interceptor, a large, twin-engine aircraft designed to defend against Soviet bomber streams. Armed with rockets and eventually nuclear-tipped air-to-air missiles, Scorpion stood alert at bases across the northern United States and Alaska throughout the 1950s. The aircraft's radar and fire control system allowed interception in conditions that grounded day fighters. One Scorpion fired the only air-to-air nuclear missile ever launched in the test, detonating a warhead that would have destroyed entire bomber formations. Despite this critical deterrent role, the Scorpion remains largely unknown. Interceptors defended America. Bombers struck back. The B-45 Tornado became America's first operational jet bomber, yet it's forgotten between the B-29 and B-47. This four-engine jet bomber flew reconnaissance missions over the Soviet Union and China during the Cold War's most dangerous years, gathering intelligence that shaped Western strategy. Tornadoes conducted the first jet bomber combat missions in Korea, striking targets with speed that propeller bombers couldn't match. The aircraft pioneered aerial refueling techniques for jet bombers, extending range that made strategic bombing viable. Its brief service and small production numbers left minimal historical trace, despite groundbreaking contributions to jet bomber development. Jets dominated the new age. One propeller aircraft refused to surrender. The A-1 Skyraider was a propeller-driven attack aircraft in the jet age, seemingly obsolete before it entered service. Yet this massive single-engine aircraft carried more ordnance than many World War II bombers, while loitering for hours over the battlefield. In Korea and Vietnam, Skyraiders provided close air support with devastating accuracy, their slow speed allowing precise weapons delivery that fast jets couldn't match. The aircraft's endurance made it ideal for search and rescue escort, protecting downed pilots for hours while jets refueled repeatedly. Sandy missions in Vietnam became legendary, with Skyraiders suppressing enemy fire around rescue helicopters. Jets eventually replaced it, but never duplicated its capabilities. Propeller aircraft carried massive loads. Tiny jets carried surprising loads. The A-4 Skyhawk was designed as a lightweight nuclear bomber, yet it became the Navy and Marines' primary attack aircraft for decades. This diminutive jet could operate from the smallest carriers while carrying bomb loads approaching larger aircraft. Skyhawks flew thousands of sorties over Vietnam, attacking bridges, supply depots, and troop concentrations with remarkable accuracy, despite heavy losses to ground fire. The aircraft's simplicity made it easy to maintain aboard carriers, while its small size allowed more aircraft per ship. Israeli Skyhawks destroyed Arab armor in multiple wars. Despite this extensive combat record and long service life, the Skyhawk remains overshadowed by larger, more complex aircraft. Small attack jets struck ground targets. The last gunfighter struck aerial targets. The F-8 Crusader was the last American fighter designed with guns as primary armament, a philosophy that seemed outdated in the missile age. Yet in Vietnam, when early missiles proved unreliable, Crusader pilots achieved the Navy's best kill ratio against MiGs, using their cannons when missiles failed. The aircraft's unique variable incidence wing allowed high angle of attack for carrier landings while maintaining level fuselage. Crusaders flew photo reconnaissance missions over Cuba during the missile crisis, gathering intelligence that shaped Kennedy's response. Despite superior combat performance, the Crusader was retired early, replaced by the multi-role Phantom that couldn't match its dogfighting prowess. The last gunfighter proved speed mattered. The next Corsair proved it didn't. Designed as a subsonic attack aircraft when supersonic speed dominated fighter design philosophy, the A-7 Corsair II made a deliberate sacrifice of speed for payload, range, and accuracy that made it the most effective strike aircraft in Vietnam. Corsair IIs delivered bombs with unprecedented precision, using advanced navigation and weapons systems, hitting targets in weather that grounded other aircraft. The aircraft's subsonic speed allowed pilots more time over target for accurate weapons delivery. A-7s flew combat missions in Vietnam, Lebanon, Libya, and Desert Storm across 3 decades. Despite this remarkable service record and combat effectiveness, the Corsair II receives minimal recognition. Subsonic attack aircraft struck with precision. Supersonic fighters struck with fury. The F-105 Thunderchief was designed as a nuclear strike fighter, yet it became the workhorse of the air war over North Vietnam. This massive single-seat fighter bomber absorbed more losses than any other American aircraft in Vietnam, flying into the most heavily defended airspace in history. Thunderchiefs struck bridges, power plants, and supply depots around Hanoi and Haiphong, facing surface-to-air missiles and anti-aircraft fire that destroyed hundreds of aircraft. Wild Weasel F-105s pioneered suppression of enemy air defenses, attacking missile sites with specialized equipment and tactics. The aircraft's sacrifice in the most dangerous missions earned it respect from those who flew it, but little recognition from history. Big jets struck hard targets. Little jets struck soft targets. The A-37 Dragonfly began as a trainer, the T-37 Tweet, before being transformed into a light attack aircraft for counterinsurgency operations. This small twin-jet aircraft seemed inadequate for combat, yet it proved ideal for close air support in Vietnam and Latin America. Dragonflies could operate from short, rough airstrips near the battlefield, providing immediate air support with precision that larger jets couldn't match. The aircraft's slow speed and long loiter time allowed pilots to coordinate closely with ground forces, putting ordnance exactly where needed. Vietnamese Air Force A-37Es flew the war's final missions. Despite effectiveness in limited wars, the Dragonfly remains largely forgotten. Jets attack from altitude. One turboprop attacked from treetops. The OV-10 Bronco was designed specifically for counterinsurgency, a twin turboprop observation and light attack aircraft that seemed too specialized for widespread use. Yet Broncos served with distinction in Vietnam, providing forward air control, light strike, and armed reconnaissance. The aircraft's excellent visibility, slow speed, and short takeoff capability made it ideal for coordinating airstrikes and attacking targets in close proximity to friendly forces. Marines used Broncos for helicopter escort and close air support. The aircraft served in Desert Storm, directing strikes against Iraqi forces. Despite proving the value of specialized counterinsurgency aircraft, the Bronco concept was abandoned for multi-role jets. Specialized aircraft filled niche roles. One ungainly bomber filled the hardest role. The A-6 Intruder was a subsonic, ungainly attack aircraft that looked obsolete compared to sleek supersonic fighters. Yet this all-weather bomber could strike targets in conditions that grounded every other aircraft, using sophisticated navigation and attack systems that made it the most capable strike platform of its era. Intruders flew the most dangerous missions over North Vietnam, attacking targets around Hanoi in darkness and weather that provided no protection to other aircraft. The aircraft's 2-man crew and advanced avionics allowed precision strikes without external guidance. A-6s served through Desert Storm, but their unglamorous appearance and subsonic speed denied them the recognition their capabilities deserved. All-weather attack aircraft hunted ground targets. Delta Wing interceptors hunted bombers. America's first operational Delta Wing interceptor was designed to defend against Soviet bomber attacks, carrying only missiles with no guns, reflecting the belief that dogfighting was obsolete. The F-102 Delta Dagger stood alert at bases across the United States throughout the 1960s, ready to intercept bombers that never came. The aircraft pioneered area-ruled design, reshaping the fuselage to reduce transonic drag, a breakthrough that made every supersonic fighter afterward possible. F-102s flew combat missions in Vietnam, though they were poorly suited for that conflict. Over 1,000 built. The foundation of modern fighter aerodynamics. Completely forgotten. The first Delta Interceptor proved the concept. The ultimate Delta Interceptor perfected it. The F-106 Delta Dart was designed to destroy Soviet bomber formations with nuclear-tipped missiles, representing the pinnacle of dedicated interceptor design. This Mach 2 fighter, equipped with sophisticated fire control systems, could engage multiple targets simultaneously. Delta Darts defended American airspace for nearly 3 decades, standing alert through the Cold War's most dangerous years. The aircraft set speed records and served longer than almost any other Century Series fighter. Yet its defensive mission and lack of combat employment left minimal historical footprint. The Delta Dart was retired just as its capabilities might have proven valuable. Armed interceptors stood ready to fight. Unarmed reconnaissance aircraft flew the fights. The RF-101 Voodoo was stripped of armament and filled with cameras for high-speed, low-level photo runs over North Vietnam and Cuba. These unarmed aircraft flew the most dangerous missions, racing through hostile airspace at treetop level to photograph targets and assess bomb damage. Voodoo pilots relied entirely on speed for survival, with no weapons to defend themselves. The aircraft's photographs guided strike planning and provided intelligence that shaped military strategy. RF-101S flew over Cuba during the missile crisis, gathering evidence that forced Soviet withdrawal. Despite flying into the most heavily defended airspace unarmed, reconnaissance Voodoos receive minimal recognition. Reconnaissance aircraft gathered intelligence. Strike aircraft used it. The F-111 Aardvark was designed as a multi-role fighter for both Air Force and Navy. Yet it became one of aviation's most controversial programs. Early losses in Vietnam nearly destroyed the program's credibility. Yet the aircraft evolved into the most capable all-weather strike platform of its generation, using terrain-following radar to attack targets at night and in weather that grounded other aircraft. Aardvarks struck Libya in 1986, flying from England in a mission that demonstrated unprecedented long-range precision strike capability. The aircraft served through Desert Storm, destroying Iraqi targets with laser-guided bombs. Despite revolutionary capabilities, the F-111's troubled development overshadowed its combat success. Strike fighters delivered ordnance. Electronic warfare aircraft made it possible. The EA-6B Prowler was designed to jam enemy radars and protect strike packages from surface-to-air missiles. An ungainly 4-seat aircraft that became indispensable to American air operations. Flying in every conflict from Vietnam through Afghanistan, Prowlers suppressed enemy air defenses, allowing strike aircraft to attack heavily defended targets with reduced losses. The aircraft's electronic warfare systems evolved continuously, maintaining effectiveness against increasingly sophisticated threats. Navy and Marine Prowlers served far longer than planned, remaining in service decades after the A-6 retired. Despite this critical role in every American air campaign, the Prowler remains largely unknown outside military aviation.
Electronic warfare protected strikers.
Airborne early warning directed them. The E-2 Hawkeye was designed as a carrier-based airborne early warning aircraft, a specialized role that seemed too limited for widespread recognition. Yet this twin turboprop aircraft, with its distinctive rotating radar dome, became the eyes of the fleet, detecting threats hundreds of miles away and directing fighter intercepts. Hawkeye's coordinated air operations over Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, and Afghanistan, managing complex airspace and preventing friendly fire incidents. The aircraft's ability to operate from carriers gave battle groups awareness that land-based AWACS couldn't provide in many situations. Despite serving continuously since 1964 and remaining in production, the Hawkeye receives minimal public recognition for its critical role. Airborne controllers managed the air war. Submarine hunters fought the unseen war. The S-3 Viking was designed to hunt Soviet submarines that threatened American carrier battle groups, packing sophisticated sensors and weapons into a compact airframe that could operate from carrier decks. This twin-jet aircraft patrolled vast ocean areas, detecting submarines and tracking them with sonobuoys and magnetic anomaly detectors. When the Soviet submarine threat diminished, Vikings transitioned to tanker and reconnaissance roles, proving remarkably adaptable. The aircraft served through the 1990s and into the 21st century before retirement. Despite decades of service protecting carriers from undersea threats, the Viking remains largely unknown outside naval aviation circles. Carrier-based submarine hunters protected the fleet. Land-based submarine hunters protected the world. Developed from a commercial airliner to hunt submarines, the P-3 Orion seemed unglamorous compared to fighters and bombers. Yet Orions flew thousands of missions, tracking Soviet submarines throughout the Cold War, gathering intelligence that shaped naval strategy and deterred aggression. The aircraft's long endurance allowed patrols lasting over 10 hours, monitoring vast ocean areas for submarine activity. P-3s dropped sonobuoys, used magnetic anomaly detectors, and carried torpedoes and depth charges to attack submarines if necessary. Orion served for over 5 decades, one of the longest service lives of any military aircraft, quietly ensuring American naval superiority.